Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
It's Friday. He is Jalen Rose.
What up, though?
I am David Jacoby.
Ain't on the cool check-in.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do?
We give the people what they want.
Let's do it right now. Do you know what those people don't want? They don't want us to talk about LeVar Ball. They really don't want that. No. We're not going to talk about LeVar Ball and his ridiculous statements, no matter what he says.
Or Tony Romo.
No. Not going to talk about that either. Or Tim Tebow hitting a home run. No. But one thing is interesting that Lonzo Ball said. Lonzo Ball said that he would rather play for the Lakers than get drafted first in the NBA draft. What do you feel about those priorities?
That's smart. And I know his father says a lot of things that can be deemed outlandish, but here's the thing people got to pay attention to. Rookies in the NBA have something that's called a rookie wage scale. Mm-hmm. So regardless of what team he gets picked by, the finances that he's going to make for his first few years is slotted. So based on that, you want to go to a market that you feel like if I become a superstar, it's going to maximize the opportunities for me, not only on the floor, with a historic franchise now being run by Magic Johnson. I'm a Los Angeles native. I have 2 younger brothers who are going to both play collegiate basketball one day. And I can stay in my backyard, plus play for the team that has 16 championships I grew up rooting for my entire life. That's a no-brainer. I understand why he did it. We've seen other athletes try to navigate where they got drafted to, in particular Eli Manning, who refused to play for the San Diego Chargers, ended up with the New York Giants, and 2 Super Bowls later seems like a pretty smart decision.
So here's my question, though, is Los Angeles Lakers, new front office, brand new young head coach, and a really young roster. Is that not a good landing spot for a very young potential superstar?
Well, not necessarily their roster, because if their roster was all that, we wouldn't be talking about them going to the lottery this year and or next year for that matter. But what I will say is he hopes to be a franchise-changing player. That remains to be seen.
Tom Brady is a franchise-changing player for the New England Patriots. And he did something that just blew my mind. Him and Giselle invited David Blaine over to their home, and I've seen the video. It is on wax. He fed David Blaine glass. I know you've seen this video as well. My question for you is this. If David Blaine calls you up and says, I'm going to come over to your house to show you some tricks, do you welcome him in or do you not?
First and foremost, me and him got to meet somewhere. You can't come to my crib.
Okay.
Because you got too many tricks. Ain't no telling what he's planting like an Easter egg hunt, and he leaves in a week later and stuff popping out on me like a Jack in the Box. Not going to be able to do it. But what I will say is this. If somebody told me they wanted me to feed them glass, I still would not do it. It's almost like the Ezekiel Elliott video. If the person wants to expose their boobs, you allow them to do it. You don't do that for them.
Don't play an active role. Yeah. It's also, like, apparently you can Google that eating glass isn't that hard to do and it's something that's possible. But here's the thing is, I don't want David Blaine in my home either. Like, you know why? Because I believe in all that stuff. I believe in ghosts. I believe in magic. I believe in all that, and I do not want it in my home. There is not enough sage on the planet for me to burn in my home after David Blaine leaves to make that okay.
Absolutely, and I avoid fortune tellers and things of that nature for this exact same reason. So I agree with that premise. While David Blaine is clearly extremely talented at what he does, I would rather watch from afar.
Michael Jordan texted Roy Williams after Roy Williams, the North Carolina Tar Heels, won the national championship. He texted, quote, "I'm so happy for you and the team. You raised the ceiling to the roof tonight." Are you surprised that Michael Jordan is owning this with his sense of humor?
I'm surprised he didn't flat out text him, the roof is the ceiling. And I'm glad you guys took my speech and used that as motivation, and it's the reason why you won the championship. Here's the other thing I got to acknowledge for whatever it's worth. When I'm watching the University of Michigan play basketball or football or any rooting interest I have as an alum, I'm not fiscally tied to what's happening with the school. The North Carolina Tar Heels wear what shoes?
Jordan Brand shoes.
So he's fiscally invested in their success. He's not only at the game the last 2 years when they play in the championship to see them win. He's there because they're wearing his shoes, and they represent his bottom line. I'm not mad at him. Talk about a boss move for real.
Wait a second. What other team that's prominent in football and basketball also wears the Jordan Brand logo?
That's why I use the University of Michigan as an example.
I guess your ceiling in Michigan is just the ceiling, though. I think that's the problem. He's like, you know what, North Carolina, ceiling is the roof. Michigan, ceiling is just the ceiling. I'm not going to the games.
He was at a game in Ann Arbor this year. Derek Jeter was also there. I was going to attend, but I needed to work. Hopefully when they attend this September or October, I can be present.
Glad you brought up Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter is allegedly, reportedly, maybe, rumors, interested in putting together a group to buy the Miami Marlins. So now we have Derek Jeter, Hall of Fame player, Derek Jeter, Hall of Fame slayer, Derek Jeter, potential owner. What do you think about Derek Jeter? Is he living the perfect athlete life?
Absolutely, and you left out the Players Tribune as well, where he's had a lot of success, and not only with himself, but other athletes that you may know that invested in that property. So with that being said, having ownership in a professional franchise, you hear people a lot of times say, man, why don't X amount of athletes put up X amount of money and go buy a team? It doesn't work that way. It's a secret society game, indirectly almost like the mob. It's not even about how much money you have. It's about A, if somebody wants to sell you their franchise, and or B, you want to pay so much money for it, they're willing to do it. It's almost like you love your home, but somebody can knock on the door and give you an offer that you can't refuse. I think because he's putting together a team of people to go after the Miami Marlins, I really believe that it's going to be a huge offer that they think that the team can't deny.
I think that he would be great as an owner of the Miami Marlins, and I hope that happens. Dabo Cephalosha has settled a deal with the NYPD. Yesterday, we speculated that it was, you said $25 million, I said $10 million. The details are now out. The New York Police Department settled with Dabo Cephalosha over a nightclub incident in which they broke his leg. $4 million. Does that seem low to you?
It does seem low to me because he makes more money than that playing basketball for a guy who's barely a starter and not an all-star, who makes a living physically by using his body, had his leg broken, is on video. You would have thought that he got more money for that situation, the way it transpired. I don't know how it got to that number. I'm pretty sure he's happy that he got anything, and he's happy that he has his health back. But I would have thought just on a blank canvas, he would have got more dollars than that.
So there was a Jeopardy question that involved the NBA that's been going around the internet, and everyone is clowning this young woman who got it wrong. Now, I don't like putting you on the spot during the show. Actually, yes, I do. But when I heard this question, I have to confess that it took me a little while to get the answer, longer than it probably should have. So I'm going to put you on the spot right now, Mr. Rose. This is Final Jeopardy. The animal on this NBA team's primary logo peaked 75 million years ago. What NBA team is that?
The animal on an NBA team's logo peaked 75 years ago. Is that 75 years? Meaning
75 million years ago.
Oh, 75 million years ago. An animal that peaks on a logo. Haven't thought about team logos in a while.
I couldn't get it either. And everyone is clowning this young woman. Think of an animal that is a mascot for an NBA team that was on this planet 75 million years ago. You may or may not have played for this team.
Let me look at let me look at the names of the 30 teams.
You may or may not have played for this team, and it's not in this country.
Oh, Raptors.
Shout out.
Reportedly, Ben Simmons has grown 2 inches since joining the Philadelphia 76ers. So there are now reports that Ben Simmons is just under 7 feet tall. Kevin Durant comes to mind, but who at that height has his kind of ball skills?
Growing 2 inches by Ben Simmons, man, that's a problem for the league. Hopefully this year he continues to work on his jump shot, clearly along with his health. But for a player at that size not comparing their games by any way, shape, or form, only LeBron comes to mind as a guy that's 6'9", 260, that can dribble and pass and create, slash to the basket, but yet still doesn't lack in the category of athleticism. And you look at the skill set of a player like Blake Griffin, who's basically been 20, 10, and 5 his entire career. LeBron plays more of a perimeter-oriented game, almost like a point forward, where Blake Griffin plays more like a power guard. That's what I envision from Ben Simmons once he gets healthy and starts performing in the NBA.
I think Giannis Antetokounmpo comes to mind as someone who has that kind of ball skills at that height. Also someone who grew a couple inches after they were drafted. The expectations that I have for Ben Simmons could not be higher, and I cannot wait to see him perform in an NBA basketball game. Summer League, whatever it is, I cannot wait. I think he will be excellent.
I agree with you, but the difference in the guys that I mentioned, I was trying to think of players that also had bulk. Antetokounmpo has more of a slender build.
Same with Durant. Durant is healthy, and he's cleared to play, and he is going to join the Warriors tomorrow as they take on the Pelicans. What does this mean for the rest of the league?
It's a problem because the Golden State Warriors have looked terrific without him. They're on an amazing win streak. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson have both been effective and efficient, recently hitting 40-plus in basketball games. Draymond Green has flirted with triple-doubles. The key for that team is Andre Iguodala, not only defending like he normally does, but being aggressive on the offensive end.
He's been great
Now
lately.
you bring Kevin Durant back into the lineup. You have a complete team, in particular, that can finish games. So because of their ability to not only defend, but shoot with range, pass, and get others involved, give up good shots to get great shots, I think that they're the favorites to win it all.
I think that's very fair to say. I still have the Cavaliers winning it all, but one of the teams in the East threatening the Cavaliers are the Boston Celtics, and our man Tom Habistro just dropped this little nugget about the Celtics that I want to ask you whether it's something or nothing. The Celtics are now 13-18 when playing teams that have a record over 500. So they are 13-18 against teams with an over 500 record. Is that something or nothing?
It's something. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 16-14 versus teams in the Western Conference, while they feasted on teams in the Eastern Conference. So absolutely, you have to take that into account, because here's what I see in Boston. A team that has a terrific all-star in Isaiah Thomas. They've outplayed expectation. You see flashes from Marcus Smart and Crowder on the offensive end. Consistent defense, not only from Marcus, but as well from Avery Bradley, who I think if they're going to take the next step has to become their second-best player. And Al Horford has been consistent. Moderate points in rebounds, the most assists that he's averaged in a season. But the thing that gets overlooked by Boston is that they're well-coached, they're a smart basketball team, and they're a tough team. So because of that, they compete every night, and this is why they are in position to have the second-best record in the East. When the game slows down, and now you're starting to game plan for the fact that they have one player who averages double-figure points in the fourth quarter, now you start to double him, and you funnel the ball to other people, that those 18 losses sounds like teams that find ways to get other people to shoot. And so because of that, they haven't developed a guy that can consistently get you 15 points in a quarter, 25 points in a game, to take pressure off of Isaiah Thomas. This is why I applaud the season that they're having. I'm scratching my head that if they had a chance to go and get Jimmy Butler and or Paul George, that they didn't strongly consider doing that. I know that you can't mortgage the future because there's some terrific prospects coming out in this year's draft. But at this point of the season, you say, man, if they would have did that move, maybe it would put them in position, especially with the Cavs struggling, to probably eliminate them. But now I look at the other two teams as probably more likely to play against the Cavs in the conference finals, in particular the Washington Wizards and or Toronto Raptors, because of those reasons.
Of course. Tony Allen, one of your favorites.
Crazy Glue.
Your man Crazy Glue is having something special happen. You know how there's certain nights that people get and the fans get something, whether it's a bobblehead or whatever? This is perfect. Tony Allen is getting Grindfather Night, where everyone in attendance gets a Tony Allen themed and branded pepper grinder. Is this the perfect gift for the fans for one player that you've ever seen?
It's a great idea. And going to Memphis for basketball games in particular in the playoffs, their in-game promotions as well as what they do on social media, in my mind, rank up there amongst the best in the league. And so not only calling their team and labeling it around the grind, the grit and grind based on the personalities on the roster, but also how they performed on the floor, but then embracing it, in particular with Tony Allen, and coming up with this type of promotion, I think is genius what they're doing.
Really quickly, the Lakers are trying to lose games, and they can't even do that right. They tried to lose against the Spurs and won the game. What does that tell you about the Lakers' strategy?
Just like we talk about the Washington football team is going to change their name, here are a few things that you can look for changing in the NBA, hopefully rather sooner than later.
And remember where you heard it first.
Playoff seeding should be 1 through 16, not the best 8 teams in each conference.
Cosign.
I'm tired of going back and forth each night saying, who going to get the 8th seed in the East? Who going to get the 8th seed in the West? So that team could just get bounced in 4 or 5 games in the first round. It's just irrelevant, especially when that team is under 500. The other thing you're going to see happen is teams not being able to pick up players late in the season while the team has to foot the bill that bought them out and allowing them to join a contending team, i.e. what you saw with Darren Williams this year. And you just acknowledged the third thing that I think is going to be a change. It has to be a change. I understand the premise of why it takes place, but I'm just not a fan of how it goes down.
And, of course, the fourth thing, next season, Lance Stevenson will be MVP.
And the last thing that the league must address, when healthy players are resting for contending teams, and when poor teams are tanking for lottery position. It's just not a good look for the league.
The commute was exhausting. I was spending more time in my car than I was with my kids. It was tough for all of us. So we used Zillow to look for a place closer to work. Sure, there were some trade-offs, but I feel like I got my family back.
Home means something different to everyone. With millions of homes for sale or rent on Zillow, whatever home means to you, Zillow can help you find it.
Jalen, Cardinals wide receiver Marquise Bundy went to a nightclub. Nowadays, certain nightclubs have different, dress codes. Sometimes you can't wear certain colors, you can't wear baggy this, you can't wear sneakers, you can't wear a jersey, and at this particular nightclub, you can't wear a hat. So on his way in, security said, "I'm sorry, sir. We would love for you to enjoy yourself in this establishment, but we're going to have to hold on to your hat." The hat, he explains later, was a hat with prayer hands on it. Prayer emoji, I believe. On the way out, he went to retrieve this hat. And the people at the nightclub, guess what? They didn't have the hat. What? Marquise Bundy was not happy. He was very expressive in his unhappiness towards the staff of the club, so much so that the police somehow got involved. You know how police kind of mull about nightclubs as closing time comes around? Well, the police were involved. They went to search for the hat themselves. They could not find the hat. Mr. Bundy was not happy about not having this hat, and he expressed himself very passionately to the police about how unhappy he was, to the point where the police said, "Sir, you can leave, but eventually we are going to have to arrest you," which is exactly what happened. After hearing all of this, what do you think about Mr. Bundy and his passion for this hat?
Got to let it go. I know that it was something that, for whatever reason, you were passionate about. I'm not going to be the person that's minimize his item. That's almost like saying, oh, it was only a hat, or oh, it was only a jacket, or it wasn't a big deal. The bottom line is, playing in the NFL, his reputation and his opportunity to collect that check is more important than anything that took place at that nightclub. And it's unfortunate that they lost his hat, but you just got to let it rock.
And his friends were trying, but perhaps not trying hard enough to make him stop. At some point, you have to save someone from themselves. And when the police say you can leave or you're going to be arrested, you have to do whatever you can to help your friend out. I also happened to Google these hats, prayer emoji hats. You can get them for like $8. Like they're on eBay for like $8 to $10. I understand that you were upset they took your hat in the first place, and you were even more upset that they lost it. But you got to let it go, man. You got to let it go. But something also tells me that these charges will also be let go as well. I do not think that anything will come of this. I think that the police department is going to not charge him with anything and go through all of that. Marquise, I'll buy you a hat, dude.
Brother Marquise your brother.
Great reference. I love the city of Seattle. I think the Pacific Northwest is one of the most underrated parts of our country that we have. I've been there many times, but I've never been to a Seattle Mariners game. I might go now. At this one particular vendor at Safeco Field, you can purchase for only $4. You can purchase toasted grasshoppers by themselves or in a taco format. What? And they are seasoned with chili and lime. Jalen Rose, are you interested in eating toasted grasshoppers?
This is one of those Lord Sear, Rude Jude things. If you had a hidden camera and you went to that game, I would love to be a fly on the wall and designate whether black, white, or others are purchasing this and actually eating it.
Get the demographics of the people that are eating the grasshoppers. I will say this, though. When you read the headline, you're like, that's ridiculous. I would never eat a grasshopper. When you look at the picture of the grasshoppers, they're really well done. They're browned. You know what I mean? And then when it said seasoned with chili and lime, I was like, ooh. And it was like, in a taco? I was like, ah. I was like, wait a second. This doesn't seem so bad. I would do it for the story. I would $4 in a taco, toasted nicely. You saw the picture too, Jalen. They look pretty good. You had to admit, you did not think that the grasshoppers were going to look that good. True or false?
Fam, it had antennas. And that's why I said play this game. You're making my point for me.
I don't see race,
You're making my
race
point
isn't a
for
part
me.
of my life. I don't see race. I don't look at the world through that filter like you do.
I don't either, but I'm into analytics.
I'm into grasshoppers.
And I'm into statistics.
I'm
and that would be a way for me to quantify who's actually eating this product. And here's another thing. For those that don't know, one of the best laughs I've ever had on this program was when Bill Simmons, the Podfather, did the Cinnamon Challenge. If you haven't seen it, Google it. If I'm not going to eat cinnamon, you know I'm not going to eat an insect.
I'm reeling because I think that was the first time you'd quantify correctly on this program. Big shout out to you, Jalen Rose. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I didn't have the heart to correct you the other times, and you used it correctly this time. I am so proud of you. That was a huge moment for our program. Daniel Cormier is fighting in a title fight in the UFC. You have to weigh 205 pounds to fight in this title fight. He's at the weigh-in. He weighs 206.2 pounds. Now, normally, you are not allowed to be weighed twice. However, because this is a championship bout, you have a 2-hour window to make weight. He goes behind us a curtain, disappears for a couple minutes, comes back, and guess what? Weighs 205. What? There's a lot of different theories, some grosser than others, as to what happened while we did not see Mr. Cormier. What do you think he did to lose that 1.2 pounds in 2 minutes?
Dio, you're too hungover, Trick. You're trying to make yourself throw up. So you put your fingers down your throat.
You sure that he didn't just manscape? He came back with the beard. Like, when he came back with the beard, I was like, okay, he's not really serious about this. Frankie Zapata is an inventor of a hoverboard. Not a Segway. Not one of those things that you see kids on the sidewalk going around with the lights. Like an actual hoverboard. You've seen this footage. This is an actual hoverboard that flies above the sky. He took it out above the Atlantic Ocean. He can fly at about 93 miles an hour or something. He can go higher than the Empire State Building on this hoverboard. What? It is attached to no wires. It's not one of those things where it's a jetpack where like you got that hose going into the ocean. This is a true, real hoverboard. How many years are we away from all of us flying around on hoverboards?
I remember growing up watching the Jetsons and thinking in the year 2000 that cars would be flying. But we do have electric cars, so we've made clearly a lot of progress. This goes into the category of what I just described earlier. I don't care if it's technology that we can use next week or in 50 years. I 100% will not be participating. The only time I want to be that high off the ground is in an airplane.
And you're asleep on planes anyway, so you don't even feel it. Well, I'll be there below you, flying on my hoverboard, eating my toasted grasshoppers with chili and lime.
Would you bungee jump?
Absolutely.
See? My point exactly.
Quick question for you, Mr. Rose. We love power couples on this show. We celebrate power couples. We lost a power couple it has been reported that Aaron Rodgers and Olivia Munn are no longer dating, which leads to this question. Do you know who Olivia Munn is?
I know that she's Aaron Rodgers' ex-girlfriend.
Jalen, a very simple question for you. Something has been debated for months now in the NBA, but I want a definitive answer. Who is your NBA MVP?
Russell Westbrook. And you don't want to deny the greatness of James Harden and what he's put on display this year, averaging almost 30, went from averaging around 6 or 7 assists to now leading the league at 11, which is remarkable, still getting 8 boards. I would deem that his efficiency across the board has been better than Russell's. His team has a better record overall, but he also has a better roster to perform with.
Sure does.
The thing that both of these guys have in common that isn't discussed enough that fascinates me is at no point of any player on the Oklahoma City Thunder roster, as well as the Houston Rockets, not named Westbrook or Harden, ever been an all-star. Which means that not only are they elevating the people around them, it puts them in a different position to lead. And so I really appreciate what I've seen from both of those players. But there's a reason why Magic, Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, none of them had us on the edge of our seat saying, are they going to possibly average a triple-double? Jason Kidd even. And it's not a 10-10-10 triple-double.
No.
He's leading the league in scoring.
31.8 points a game. That's 32 points a game average.
And also, his team is 32-9 when he has a triple-double. So it's not like he's hollow getting numbers. And they're, I guess, 12-24 when he doesn't. Okay, so that means his productivity is clearly lifting everyone around him. In the league where it's about pace and space and shooting a three, he doesn't really have knockdown three-point shooters to even kick it to get big-time assists. So he continues to have to penetrate the defense, continue to have to be aggressive, creating for himself, creating for others. And a historic mark like this, to me, deserves to be rewarded for a guy that's lifting the Oklahoma City Thunder into the playoffs after they lost a former MVP in Kevin Durant. And now, like I said in the preseason, it's on wax that he's going to average a triple-double. It's a remarkable feat, and you would hope that both players could get acknowledged, but it doesn't work that way. One guy's going to get the trophy. It deserves to be Russell Westbrook.
I think it will be Russell Westbrook, and it should be Russell Westbrook. And now I've preached over and over again that only 50% of the game is offense, and you have to play defense. But what he has done this year has just been uncanny. It's and nothing I've ever seen before in the history of the league. And a lot of things you think about Russell Westbrook is efficiency. People always go after his efficiency. Oh, he took so many shots. He took this many shots. Well, guess what? He's 42.6% from the floor. That's his field goal percentage. And Harden is 44%. He actually shoots better from three-point than Harden does as well. I think people kind of get these narratives about Westbrook like, oh, he's inefficient, he's shooting too many shots. Well, he's actually shooting at the same percentages as James Harden with, as you mentioned, a much weaker roster around him. He will be this year's MVP. Is there any chance that anyone else wins?
No, and this is why you want to make sure you reward players with Player of the Week, Player of the Month, MVP, Most Improved, Sixth Man of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. These are the type of awards for all of us that hope players show up to compete on a nightly basis, that now you get rewarded with these type of legacy awards like All-Star and All-NBA. So, yes, I think Harden will get acknowledged, as well as LeBron James. Kawhi Leonard is going to get some mention. Mm-hmm. There are going to be people that probably shouldn't vote. There's going to throw a couple of votes at Isaiah Thomas's way.
No, that's not going to happen.
There's going to be somebody in Washington that votes for John Wall.
No.
But ultimately, Russell Westbrook will win. And I'm a voter.
All NBA is one of those important distinctions, one of those other sort of a way that you can give somebody an accolade that's not the MVP or Defensive Player of the Year or whatever. And it's also extremely important for both Gordon Hayward and Paul George, because if they do make All NBA, then their teams can offer them tens of millions of dollars more money and a couple more years than other teams can, making it more likely for them to stay. However, Paul George has a new teammate by the name of Lance Stevenson. When Lance was asked about whether or not Paul George is going to stay with the Pacers and what they can do about it, here's what he said, quote, "I got to get all my guys, tie him up in a chair, and say, you ain't going nowhere, Paul George." Question for you. Is Lance Stevenson kidding?
He's not kidding.
He's not kidding. No.
And also, here's an NBA snafu that needs to get ironed out. We're talking about what's considered two small markets, Indiana and Utah. They drafted Gordon Hayward as well as Paul George, and those guys have become all-star level players. They shouldn't have to be all NBA performers for those two teams to be able to pay them more money over more years than any other team in the league. I think it probably should say all-star, but not all NBA, because now, all of a sudden, you go into next season, neither one of these guys have incentive to sign. So they become almost your best player in a situation where they're almost lame duck, and it puts everybody in an awkward spot, and it also doesn't incentivize them extra to stay. So I think the players kind of got that part wrong. The owners won that, I guess, if you're going to talk about a negotiation tactic, because only 15 players can make all NBA. And lastly, players. You mean to tell me you're going to allow media members to vote not only on All NBA, which you have no control over, but then turn around and be in a position that costs players millions of dollars based on their votes? Like, come on.
And doesn't that come into your mind? Like, we're all human beings. And if I was given a ballot and I was looking at it, I would vote for Paul George and Gordon Hayward because I just want these people to get more money. Like, it has to come across my mind. I'm not going to be completely objective when I fill out the ballot if I had one. Are you telling me that you're going to be completely objective? When you see Paul George's name, you're not just going to put him in there because you know what's at stake?
I've been sent the ballot. You get to the last day of the regular season to fill it out. And I knew the last 10 games of the season with Russell and James was going to be fast and furious, as well as a few of these playoff races are yet to be decided. So because of that, I wanted to wait till the last minute and vote, and I plan on doing so with integrity. I can't do it based on the situations you just described.
Well, that's the difference between us. One of us has integrity, and one of us proudly does not. And I'm happily the latter.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Jalen.
What up, though?
In just under 2 weeks, a week from this Thursday, we are going to be holding a live recording of Jalen and Jacoby. It is at the Village Recorder in Los Angeles, April 20th at 8 p.m. You can buy your tickets on SeatGeek.com or using the SeatGeek app. We'll be picking one tweet or voicemail a day next week for those people to receive free tickets to the Jalen and Jacoby live recording.
Love it.
We will not fly you in. If you are in Sweden and you send a funny tweet, we are not going to fly you there to Los Angeles. You have to make your way to the Village Recorder at 8 o'clock on April 20th, also known as what, Jalen?
420. The
All
people
right.
who put this together clearly know our audience, and it makes me so excited. And they made it at 8 p.m. so everybody could turn up all day and then enjoy our program that night. It's going to be a fun and fantastic evening. Are we going to feed the people?
Yes, the people will. There'll be some food there.
Okay, good.
I'm just don't fall asleep. You know what I mean? I don't want to be on stage doing the show and people are sleeping. It's
Hey,
420.
man, hold on. Now, who doesn't know that people ain't going to have the munchies? Now, that's why I asked. Like, come on
That's a
now.
great point.
Come
Great
on,
point.
come on. Got to feed it.
If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. Let's listen to the first voicemail today.
Jalen, Jacoby, what's going on? Anthony from Long Island. Got a question. Is it dope to wear no shirt underneath your button down? I was chilling in Miami. I thought I was in Miami on the Miami Vice show. Let me know. Cool? Not cool. Thank you. Keep giving the people what they want.
Okay, I have very strong opinions about this. Is I wear a button-up shirt pretty often. Ideally, you are wearing an undershirt, also known as an A shirt, also known as something that we no longer reference on this program. What I don't want to see you doing is wearing a full crew neck collared T-shirt underneath your button-up so I can see it there right below your Adam's apple. However, no shirt is fine, but just don't unbutton 3 of the buttons at the top. You know, I don't want to see the taco meat. Keep the taco meat covered. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
A couple of things. I want to make sure that I acknowledge the difference. If it's a polo type shirt, it's okay, in my opinion, to rock a shirt underneath it by your Adam's apple that you can see.
That's not true.
I do it all of the time.
Not okay.
If it's a dress-up shirt and it's a collared shirt, A, I don't think your white shirt should be showing, or any color for that matter. And or B, it definitely shouldn't be showing if you got on a blazer. That's one. 2, if you're in Miami, I understand you not wanting to wear something underneath your button-up shirt, but you have to put on an undershirt.
So here's one thing.
A ribbed undershirt at that. We've talked on this program about retiring certain things, and we're going to get around to it. And the term that people use so freely to describe the shirt that I'm talking about that I want you to wear underneath is called a ribbed undershirt. That's what you should wear underneath.
Also, Anthony, as a New Yorker who has vacationed in Miami, that's kind of part of it. If you live in Miami, you know you can do whatever you want. But when you get on the plane to go somewhere warm, you can dress for that to be as warm as possible. So I think you do get a pass, even if you have 3 buttons unbuttoned. If you traveled somewhere just to have 3 buttons unbuttoned, shout out to you, Anthony.
If somebody has on a tank top jersey, they should definitely have a shirt on underneath that.
No, never. I could not disagree with you more about this. So if I'm wearing a throwback Denver Nuggets Jalen Rose jersey, you want me to have like a T-shirt on underneath it?
Well, don't hug me, because I don't want to hug your sweaty underarms.
Well, I don't want to hug you either. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Good afternoon, fellas. This is Ben in Bloomington Normal, Illinois. My question for you is, I'm going skydiving tomorrow for the first time ever. Have you guys ever gone skydiving? Would you ever go skydiving? And do you have any advice? Keep giving the people what they want.
I have this one. First of all, Jalen would never go skydiving.
I'll make mine quick. No, and not going to be able to do it.
Here's my thing. I would definitely go skydiving. I will go skydiving before I die, much like running a marathon, which I've already done. But here's one piece of advice I have. This is what I learned. I learned this yesterday from our friend and colleague Kevin Wilds. He has not skydived, but he did have this piece of advice. Really cold up there. Dress appropriately. A lot of people don't know how cold it is when you're up 30,000 feet. It is cold. So while you're down on the ground, it might be shorts and T-shirt weather, but when you're on that plane, you got to get a hoodie on or something. That's my piece of advice for you, Ben, from Bloomington. I believe you said Bloomington Normal, which was a great name for a town. My producers told me it's 12,000 feet for a skydive, which is very important information. Doesn't correct us when we get all kinds of things wrong. But I said it's skydive from 30,000 feet, and we get a correction in my ear immediately. But I've put players in the wrong teams before. I've gotten stats wrong. I've said people's names wrong. Never corrected. But I got an estimation of the height of a skydive wrong, and immediately get corrected in my ear. Oh.
I know who didn't correct you. Reg.
Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Hey, Jalen and Jacoby. A quick question. Andre Iguodala. He's been the Finals MVP, and he's been an Olympian. With those credentials, do you think he will? With those accolades, do you think he'll be able to make it into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, I'm gonna go no on that one. Jalen Rose.
Thanks for your call. Appreciate the support. Andre Iguodala hadn't come off the bench at any point of his career until the NBA Finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers, catapulted them to win a championship and won Finals MVP. He's an integral part of their team. They've won 60-plus games the last few years, and I see success for their squad into the future.
I feel about coming.
They have 4 All-Stars. He's not one of them. Those will be the guys that are on a projection to possibly make it toward the Hall of Fame. He's not in that category.
Very nice young man. I once sat next to him on an airplane. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Guys, the one and only Samuel Biller is here. Mike D'Antoni shaved his mustache, and he's had quite a rebound this year. How real is the curse of the mustache, and when should Jeff Fisher shave his?
I don't think the mustache curse is really real.
I've never heard of it before.
He basically had a caterpillar on his top lip.
Mm-hmm.
He changed venues a couple of times over the last few years, so he just wanted a fresh start with his facial hair. He deserves to win Coach of the Year for turning around the Houston Rockets and catapulting them into the 3 spot in the Western Conference. I believe in a Kardashian curse. You see Tristan Thompson's consecutive game streak.
All of a sudden.
He's been playing basketball every game for 5 straight years, and all of a sudden he has an injury that forces him out. And you know how much I like players to show up every game. But with that being said, I do not think that there's a mustache curse. I've never heard of one.
So you know how some people grow playoff beards? Let's say that you think the Rockets have a 10% chance of winning the national championship, right? Winning the NBA Finals. If James Harden, between the regular season and the playoffs, completely shaved off his beard to show his commitment to this postseason, I would say that's at least a 25% chance. That would double their chances of winning the NBA Finals if James Harden shaved his beard. True or false, Mr. Rose?
He lose 3 pounds and be a lot faster.
He got that Daniel Cormier?
Absolutely. But I will say this. I'm glad I didn't play on the team that required playoff beards because I can't grow one.
That's a great point. Let's listen to one more voicemail.
Jalen, when and where was the first time that you tried Waffle House, and what did you order?
It's a great question about a great restaurant. However, that is also a misunderstanding about Jalen Rose's ability to remember things.
I don't necessarily remember the first time I went to Waffle House.
No.
What? But a lot of people may or may not realize this, but my late great-grandfather, Big Daddy, actually resided later in his life in Bainbridge, Georgia. And each summer, we used to take family visits to go see him. So that's when I got exposed to Waffle House, actually, when I was young. So because of that, I don't remember the first time I actually have done it. But now, since I spend a lot of time in Atlanta, I frequent and make sure that I eat it at least one time each trip.
Big shout to Big Daddy.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
One thing that we do here with the staff and ourselves is we pay attention to what's being spoken about. What's trending? What are other shows talking about? What's going on in pop culture in the world of sports? And we put all of those topics in this segment called Keep It Moving. I will tell you something that's going on in the world of sports and pop culture. If you would like to discuss it, you say hit the brakes. If it's not worthy of discussion, we just keep it moving.
We be moving, you know we keep it moving.
LeVar Ball
keep it moving.
Said,
we be moving, you know we keep it moving.
Big Ben announced that he's coming back to play football.
No surprises. Keep it moving. We're not going to force football topics on this program.
25 years ago, Barney the dinosaur first appeared on TV screens.
I hit the brakes. Please take over, my esteemed colleague.
Okay. The producer that put this segment together, big shout out to John Lawrence, in parentheses after saying that, wrote this question. Jalen, who is Barney?
Barney is Fred Flintstone's best friend.
Yeah. Close. I'll take that. I'll accept that. What color is Barney?
Burgundy.
I'll accept that. Judges are accepting that. It's more of a purple, but you know what? That was impressive nonetheless. Lakers assistant general manager Glenn Carraro has resigned.
Keep it moving. They came in and cleaned house. It's just that he didn't go out with the first flow because he didn't want his name to be in that press release.
Kevin Durant is fully cleared for basketball operation.
Hit the brakes. The Golden State Warriors are on an amazing win streak, and they're getting Kevin Durant to play the final 3 games of the regular season. If he's able to return to form, it's going to be a scary proposition for the rest of the league. He's going to be on a mission. He sees us talking about, just think about this for a second.
Okay.
He's been the MVP of the league and the best player on the team that had Russell Westbrook and James Harden, the 2 favorites to win MVP. You don't think he's watching television like, wait a minute, Kawhi and LeBron and what about me? Almost like the movie Face Off.
Mm-hmm.
So I guarantee that when he comes back, he's going to slay the league.
I hate to do this to you, Jalen.
Brace yourself. Jalen Rose is about to explain a movie plot.
What's the plot to the movie Face Off?
All right, I know this one.
Okay.
I've actually saw this movie multiple times.
Okay.
So Nicolas Cage and John Travolta star in the movie.
Uh-huh.
John Travolta is ultimately the bad guy. Nicolas Cage is the family man. And so John Travolta wants to steal his identity. And in doing so, some laboratory trick where they remove each other's faces. Well, John Travolta has Nicolas Cage's face removed. He applies it to his face like a mask, and he lives his life.
I'll take that. I mean, that was close enough. That was well done. Here's what I would say, just a piece of advice, Jalen. Next time you explain a movie plot, don't start by saying I've seen this one multiple times. You know what I mean? Just don't. Keep expectations low.
And also, you know what we should have done when we had Annie on the show? We should have had her do a real movie plot so then y'all will understand how good I am at this.
Not sure about that idea. Let's keep it moving. The Banana Boat Brothers have a group text where they make fun of each other's outfits.
Keep it moving.
FIFA's finances show a $369 million loss for 2016. Bigger loss expected for 2017.
Hit the brakes real quick. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world. That's definitely something that we got to pay attention to.
Here's my thing. Everybody lies in their taxes. You know what I mean? When it comes to tax season, everybody acts like they don't have any money. It's like at the end of the year, it's like, wait a second. Let's dig into these numbers, you know?
So now I got to teach you something.
What's that?
Okay. You've been an esteemed producer for 20 plus years at this network.
Way less
You're
than
an
that.
amazing host and analyst on this very program with appearances on Sports Nation and First Take. And
one thing about
other shows
Jalen,
on the
whenever
network.
Jalen starts complimenting you, you know that there's something coming at the end that you're not going to like.
No, it's a lesson.
Don't say you lie on your taxes on wax.
You're making more money now because we see you on TV and your teeth are whitened. Don't never say you lie on your taxes on television.
People manipulate numbers at the end of the year to make it seem like they're less profitable than they are for the IRS.
There you go.
Okay. Richard Jefferson and Draymond Green have podcast beef.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know we keep it moving.
Wichita State accepts the American Athletic Conference invitation to join.
It's good for the conference. It's unfortunate in particular to see UConn kind of caught in the crosshair where the Big East has become defunct and the ACC gathered so many teams that used to be their rivals. And now all of a sudden the AAC, while gaining Wichita State, is a big get for that conference because they've played terrific basketball, especially, the last 5 or 10 years. It's a good look for the conference, and I'm happy for Wichita State.
All of a sudden you have this passion for UConn. I can't understand it. Aaron Gordon caught an alley-oop thrown off the backboard by Elfrid Payton in the middle of an NBA game, and he did so with one shoe on.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know we keep it moving.
The Weeknd saw Elfrid Payton's haircut and was like, I need a haircut. You know what? I'm changing my look.
Adrian Peterson is going to visit the Saints on Tuesday.
We're not going to force football topics on this program.
One more. LeVar Ball said that the UCLA Bruins lost their Sweet 16 game because the white players in the team were too slow of foot.
Hit the brakes.
Nah, I can't hit the brakes on that one.
I want to say something real quick.
I'm not talking about LeVar Ball.
You don't have to say anything.
I thought you were going to stop me by the time I said LeVar Ball. As long as I don't have to speak about him, I'll hit the brakes.
You don't have to speak about him. LeVar Ball has a white wife, and they have 3 children that I know of, which makes them mix. So therefore, that distinction overall just clearly doesn't make sense. So it just clearly is a head-scratching comment. That's really all I have to say about it.
Do you know what we do? We have a simple motto on this show. Jalen Rose, are you ready for the first question?
Let's get it.
All right. The first question that we have comes from Jay.
Come with me.
Does the makeup of your statue, whether it's metal, rock, wood, concrete, etc., affect its status or significance? That's a great question from Jay. And, of course, we have the world's, not ESPN, the world's leading senior statue analyst, Jalen Rose.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you 2 basic things to watch for.
Okay, good.
1, it must be outdoors.
Outdoors is important, so probably wood would be a bad choice.
Because now you're immortalized somewhere. You got a parking spot.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, it has to be bronze.
No. I disagree completely.
It has to be.
I disagree. No. No.
What do you think it should be?
I think there's other different compounds. I mean, I'm not a metal expert, but you know what I mean? I think bronze is kind of old and it's got that kind of copper brown look to it. I prefer sort of more of a metalish silver sort of steel look to my statue.
So who has a statue that resembles the material that you're describing?
Jalen, you know how I feel about follow-up questions, okay? You know how I feel about follow-up questions, all right? Next one, also statue-related, is from John Dre 3000. This is good. Which would you rather have, a good quality bust or a poor quality statue? Good question from John Dre.
Like me with movies, before you read a question, don't say it's a good question if you're not going to do it for all of them. With that being said, a bust or a statue?
A good bust or a poor quality head-to-toe statue?
Poor quality statue. Because the bust ain't necessarily going to be outdoors, so it doesn't fit the criteria.
Not a lot of outdoor busts out there. They're out there, but there's not a lot. And I also, when I see a bust, I always think it's like one of many. You know what I mean? Like it seems, so usually like you're in a hall, there's other people that have busts around, but when you see a statue, it's usually just by itself. Next question we have, also statue related. This is from Brian. Bigger boss status symbol, your own statue or a building in your name? That comes from Brian.
Oh, a building in your name.
Oh, ooh, wait a second, Mr. Rose. I completely disagree.
Hey, man, let me tell you something.
Okay.
Our commander in tweets got a few buildings in his name. Okay. I'm pretty sure he'd much rather have that than a statue in front of an arena where he played a sport.
A building in your name can be changed. A building in your name doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you personally. It might not even be associated with you. You always care about legacy. After you pass, people might just think the Jacoby Tower is just like a cool name or a name of a company or something. But when it's your actual physical manifestation in a statue form, it cannot be disassociated with you personally.
Until Kobe has his statue erected outside of the Staples Center, David Jacoby, when you're driving on the freeway or when you're miles away and there's a skyscraper with your name on it and lights, you can see it for miles and miles and miles. You got to be standing in front of a statue to see it, sir.
Disagree. Next, I'm going to keep it statue related. If Lance Stevenson was getting a statue, what would his pose be? We all know this. And this is obvious.
Blowing in LeBron's ear.
Duh, of course. No problem there. Next, we have this. I like when people use our boss move or soft move format. Dominic, boss move or soft move, proposing to someone on live TV and getting it turned down.
It's always a boss move when you're trying to propose and create a family dynamic.
I like what you did there.
It's unfortunate, however, that he got access denied in the Heisman Trophy pose when it took place. So I'll still say a boss move because he tried to step up to the game. The hardest thing for somebody to do once you start to get older is be responsible.
This question is for me, and it's an important question. It's from Jacob. Jacoby, who's the most famous person you've met through Anne Hathaway? Here's one of the things. I'm not saying. You know what I mean? What happens off wax stays off wax. That's why you don't hear me talking about being friends with Anne Hathaway on the show. Like, it's just not that kind of thing. It's just that, no. That's also like when we go to the SB's after party, do you know what we're not doing on the show the next day? Talking about everything that happened at the SB's after party. Like sometimes when you're amongst certain people, you just keep it to yourself and keep it off wax.
You got the question from Jacob and frost your face up.
Well done. That was very nice.
I needed a rim shot for that.
Reggie's so slow in the rim shots.
He probably don't remember the reference to that record. He's not old enough.
Yeah, he's not old enough. That's what it is. Next we have, this is great. This is from Mike. Jalen, what were your post-game routines? I'm sure it changed over time. But generally, take me through what the hour after the buzzer would be like for you in an NBA locker room.
Well, a lot of that, think about it, you're playing a sport that's physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically demanding. You're playing it in front of millions of people, whether they were in attendance or watching on television. Every step, every dribble is being covered by the media, analyzed, scrutinized, and overanalyzed, in particular on social media. So the routine post-game clearly is defined by what just happened those 48 minutes. If you played well and y'all won, those are the best nights ever. If you play horrible and y'all lost, oh man, those nights are tough. Those nights are brutal. And what you also do is you allow yourself to soak in the negativity for a while. The players that act like, I don't pay attention to what the media says, those be the guys that go in the bathroom with their phone and pay attention to everything the media says. And so I was clearly one of those people as well. So I would go and watch Sports Center and all of the different shows and see what they had to say about our game. A, because I'm a sports fan. B, to see how our team was covered. C, you got to check the stock market on your own name. So I would do that as well. But when you win, oh man, I'm telling you, it feels so good to win and play well. It's the absolute best. It's an orgasm. It clearly is. And so at that point, you go have a nice dinner, have adult beverages. You take all of your friends and family out that came to the game. It shows a level of maturity when you stunk that night and your team play horrible, that you still taking out 10 or 15 people. You got to sit around the table and act like you're happy when you're not. And you paying the check. Oh, man, those are brutal nights.
I can always tell the difference in an interview You know what I mean? As someone who works on the other side of the camera. After you win the game, they're answering all the questions. They're giving long answers. They're answering things that you didn't even ask. And then after you don't ask a yes or no question to someone that just lost a game. Like, you are getting a one-word answer. It's just that simple. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for listening to Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
Thank you.
For watching on ESPN2 and ESPN News. And subscribing to the Jalen and Jacoby podcast.
Thank you. You're far too kind.